to the Everyone Active podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jo.
Hello, I'm your other host, Michelle. How are you?
Really good. I love February. Why do we love February?
Why do you love February?
Well, you've just had a birthday and I've just had a birthday.
We like our birthdays, don't we?
I know. Love a bit of February.
Did you have a good birthday?
Yes, a lovely one. Thank you. Thank you. It was a weekend, so I was like, hello.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Nice. Mine was in the week. Never mind.
Hey.
We move.
I know.
What else have you been up to? Trainings?
Trainings, getting over the Christmas, January. Whoa!
Oh my goodness
happens
me, I
in
know.
January, although still happening in February.
Yes.
But I like
Still
it.
very busy, yeah. We
Still
like
like it.
Lots of nice new faces, which is exciting as well. And obviously lots of familiar faces too in our classes. So hi,
definitely.
Team Bracknell.
So lovely ones. We've had an episode with them before. We've got them back.
We've brought them back.
Yay! Welcoming back Steph and Ollie.
Woo!
Good to be
Hello.
back. Good to be back. That's great. It's always
How
a good
are you?
sign. Well, I'm well.
Very good, very good. I feel like I dodged the podcasting for many years, and
Now
you can't get rid of me. Here I am again.
Steph, did you know that we're actually going to start roping you in monthly now?
Oh no, that's news.
Hello!
Hi guys.
we thought we'd say that live on air so that she can't say no.
Exactly.
Amazing.
It's like I had to, what did I have to do that I've actually not done, and now I've dropped myself right in it?
Oh, you were going to do some sort of class thing, weren't you?
No, I wasn't.
No.
We are moving swiftly on. I definitely didn't agree to come and do a Zumba class with you that I hadn't yet done.
You did. Because I think I kept my end of the bargain and did cycling.
You did.
Didn't I?
Yes.
Loved every minute.
Yes.
I loved every second, Steph. You know me well.
I got video content sent to me of her on the bike. I was like, come on, Michelle.
Come on now.
Yes. No. Okay.
are you doing
2025. I can't even say New Year's resolution. I don't really believe that anyway. But no, I will do it now. We'll say it. We'll talk about it. I can use it as part of my recovery.
I'm only quiet because my brain is whirling as to what I can do.
I know.
if
Did
it
you not
does-
see what I just did then? No. I can use it as part of my recovery.
Oh, she's good. Folks, it's a tenuous link.
So, team, we have called in Oli and Steph again today because we are going to do an episode on the recovery pillar
Recovery.
within the Everyone Active U Plus membership. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Love a tenuous link.
Yay. Oh, we've got them.
Yeah, we've got plenty of those. Stick with us. We're here all week.
It's the only links I have.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. So, February is our recovery month for Everyone Active. And recovery, I think we should put this right in at the beginning, is we are quite often talking about stress when we're talking about recovery.
So not just physical recovery.
Or mental.
No.
A bit of, we're talking about everything within it. Stress, here you go, Mish, ready for this one?
Go on.
Stress is actually good for the human body.
What now?
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
It's in us, it's a chemical release with us, it's how we get up and go. It's just, we've been kind of a bit conditioned and surrounded by stuff that don't necessarily let us switch off from that go.
Okay.
But guess what?
We're going to talk about that today.
We are, and we've got two
Amazing.
experts here to join us on that talk. Hurrah! Yay! So, Steph, when we are talking about recovery in Everyone Active U+, we're talking about muscle recovery, we're talking about brain recovery, we're talking about physiological recovery. How? Why? What are we doing? Why are we talking about recovery?
It's such an interesting interpretation of recovery, and I think that's what's quite powerful within the programme because, like you say, we talk about physical recovery, but actually a lot of those things are determined by how well your body switches off and how much subconscious your body's actually doing throughout the day that you just don't even recognise is challenging all of those recovery factors. And equally, one part can't recover without the other part recovering, so they all interlink as well. So it's a very different look and interpretation of it. But ultimately, if we aren't recovering, we aren't resting, we aren't recouping, we are just burning out gradually. And I think January, February, it's a big time for the burnout. And everyone's going, right, and we're really healthy and they're working so hard, top end of it. You know, we've had Blue January, the most depressing day of the year, my birthday. Thanks, guys. Living the dream.
What a treat.
But it's all those things, and this is the time of year where we've gone all in, and it's like I'm going to be at the gym 5 times a day, and you know, 5 times a day, 5 times a week, or like double sessions. It's like, wow, like we've gone from nothing to all in, and it's amazing. but let's step back, because sometimes it can be counterproductive, and we just need to recognise. And I think it's also recognising the day-to-day, and like we coach it on the programme quite a lot, and I talk about just, you wake up in the morning, your alarm clock's instantly alarming you, you're firing up, and then it's a coffee and it's boom, adrenaline system, all of those things are firing. You're getting the kids to school, get out of bed, you're late for work, the meeting's cancelled, and all of these things. And we're just like, yeah, that's my day. It's like they're all factors that are just battering you down, that unless you take ownership to go, hang on, let's remove for 5 minutes, because I haven't got time to stop. But actually, if you take that 5 minutes, you come back stronger and more effective. But it's knowing when to own that recovery, and it hasn't got to be, let's jump in an ice bath, let's go and have 3 hours to myself on a long walk and sit and do social and whatever that needs to be. There can be very small moments that just help us recalibrate, so that we are recovering throughout the day, but equally going into our sleep cycles at night, we actively get into that right level of recovery. And I'm sure Ollie will go a bit more into the science in that sort of space as well, but that's very much for us is looking at modern life, because everything wants to just be in us. It's on us, in us, focusing, triggering, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Whether it's what we consume, whether it's what we're, faced with, whether it's what we're dealing with in our personal lives, whether it's the food, the environment we're in, it's all hitting us, and it hits us hard. And we don't always recognise just what it's doing to our bodies.
I think it's really lovely as well that you're giving a space for people to actually go, it's okay to stop. It's okay to have that recovery time, because we are drilled targets, goals,
Just to go
friends,
for it, aren't we?
socials, traffic jams, when actually we're going, do you know what? You're a human. You're allowed to pause. You can have recovery.
And I mean, burnout
time.
is real, Ollie, isn't it? It's a real thing, isn't it?
A huge thing, and rising. But burnout is that a bit like chronic fatigue. There's people with chronic fatigue, and they wanted actually to rename it, because everyone walks around going, "I've got chronic fatigue. I'm chronically fatigued." Burnout is suffering from that a bit as well. In fact, everyone's saying I'm a bit burned out, but it does have an occupational health definition, which is when workplace stresses have exceeded your ability to cope for a prolonged period of time. So, so it's not a disease.
Right.
And it's quite an interesting definition that it's definably workplace stresses. So it falls into an occupational health classification. But really, burnout in different forms is this point when all those pressures that Steph is laying out have just overwhelmed me for so long that my body has now run out of energy.
Right.
And there are clinical presentations of that. There are occupational. And burnout sort of sits into this category that's really affecting businesses. So we've got about 51% of long-term absence is attributed to heightened stress and
Wow.
burnout as a key
51%.
51%.
That's
But that's not unrealistic. Those numbers are rising, Joe, to the point where, at the moment it's about a 2 billion, revenue cost a year to UK businesses.
Yep.
And that's why, wellbeing sort of moved from being this thing that takes place over there to now, boards of serious organizations are saying, how are we deploying well-being both to decrease the cost to our business of people being physically off work because they are burned out, but also if people have got more energy, wouldn't they be a more effective employee? So the fascinating thing about well-being, one of the only places where everyone wins is workplace well-being.
Yeah.
Because people benefit from it from a productivity point of view, from an absenteeism point of view, and the individual feels better and lives happier. But it's a very real thing.
I suppose there's so many hours as well spent in work or around your work colleagues that it has to be a good environment
Yes.
for you to be in.
Enormously.
So stress in the body, what's the chemical? How does it happen? Is it
And
good
how does
for
it
us?
manifest itself as well?
Where does that burnout happen? Is there a tipping point?
There is a tipping point. It's hard. It's always, everyone's chasing that point. So the idea is if we use the word pressure is good for human beings. The absence of any pressure, if no one cared whether you two woke up this morning, whether you were here, whether you did anything, that sounds great, like for 24 hours. Freedom. Does it sound great? Not even great. Oh, no. Oh, good.
We're very needy. to be fair. You picked your wrong audience. Know your audience.
Well,
Ollie. Love.
let me introspect. Not you two.
Okay.
Normal
Turn to
people.
Steph and ask her.
Normal
people.
I don't think I feel the normal same.
No.
Let's take the average person.
Okay.
The straw man over here. Get away from you two.
Digging himself out.
Yeah, lots of people would like that sort of break.
Yeah.
As in, oh my God, all the things I have to do. So the absence of pressure is not a good thing, right? But we basically encounter pressures throughout our day, and some of those pressures are minuscule things, like Steph says, a noisy alarm going off, a need to get the children up. And there comes a point when all the pressures we face drive us to a heightened state of performance. And more pressure means more performance. The
Right.
more things expected of me, the better I deliver, until pressure overwhelms my ability to cope. And often those pressures aren't one pressure, it's the last pressure.
Yes.
So I snap because suddenly the washing machine doesn't work, or I snap because this meeting that I had planned got cancelled and I've been prepping for it for weeks. And it's not that meeting is in itself overtly stressful. It was the last thing.
It's the straw, yeah.
It's the straw. So what we really define that stress as is stress is good for us until it's in excess. And generally the definition of stress is when pressures exceed our ability to cope. And that ability to cope is my ability to think about those stresses, because in truth, most stresses don't exist. And I'll come back to that potentially. So the only true stresses we face would be heat, cold, and weight.
Right.
Everything else is our imagined, what we believe is happening. So again, put a pin in that for a second.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting. We're going to get deep here. But basically, when those pressures overwhelm my ability to cope, so ability to think about them, my ability to share them. So if I've got all those things and I'm doing it on my own, that's much harder than if I'm sharing it or in a social group, distributing it. And my physical ability to buffer it, as in all those stresses are building up and I'm compounding it with double espressos and I'm compounding it with sitting and stewing on it all. So my ability to cope is how I think, how I share, how I buffer. But once that's overwhelmed, those good stresses now become negative. And physiologically, what we see then is the inside of a human body gets a little bit too ready for threat. And again, in the same way as there's been no real evolution of our bodies, we talked about this on a previous podcast, the human body hasn't really evolved to its modern environment. And all excessive pressures are perceived to be a physical threat. So once that washing machine breaks and that meeting's cancelled, the inside of my body is getting ready to kill someone or to run away from something.
It's like fight or flight sort of kicks in.
Fight or flight,
Yeah.
spot on. And the great challenge of fight or flight is it suggests all stresses are a saber-toothed tiger chasing us. And that's not what these stresses are. It's just when there's too many individual pressures for me to deal with, my internal physiology gets slightly ready for fighting or flighting. And the real challenge of that's not necessarily a problem, is that if I'm ready for fight or flight, then I'm not ready for resting and digesting, which is the alternate physiological state. And so you can look at when there are too many pressures, which is just the build-up of life's things, then we have a disengagement in the nervous system that restores energy and drives digestion. And that seems to be the mediator of why most people feel dodgy tummy, knackered, immune depressed, mood unstable, because that nervous system should spend about 30% of our lives in charge. And again, through clinical experience, more than the research data, most people are far inadequate against that. We're just inadequately recovered.
Yeah.
And that's through these micro stresses overwhelming us, if that answers it.
Totally. And Steph, I guess that's why we're talking about it in February as well, because families, Christmas, events, January, if you've all said, and also it's still dark.
Oh,
Yes.
And it's like that overwhelming feeling of being constantly on. And I suppose from a training point of view, we talk about recovery, maybe day to day when we're talking about building muscle strength. And then we know that we have to give that muscle, that individual muscle, recovery time if we ever want it to go again. But now we're just talking about our whole bodies as a whole and our brain and our digestive system. What are we literally encouraging people to relax? What are we asking them to be doing?
I think it's about being aware, and it's not saying you know how to change loads of things. It's about how can you take strategic moments throughout your day just to recompose, recalibrate, and it's recognising it doesn't take long. It can be a couple of minutes of just. I mean, we've all probably been in those heated moments where you're having an argument over a meeting and somebody wants this, or the kids are all intense and it's getting a bit heightened. If you step away from that and then come back into the room, you come with an entirely different mindset, and you can actually have a more rational conversation.
Yeah.
It's that idea just put into your body, really, in terms of my body's just constantly gone. I've not sat down since I woke up this morning. It's now 3:00 in the afternoon. I've lived on coffee. Stop. Have a moment. Take 3 minutes, sit, do some breathing, get yourself outside, change your scenery, whatever it might be. It's using those moments as opposed to let's stop exercising. Like, is it when you go to the gym, are you going for a really high intense workout? Well, that's cool. But if you've just come off the back of a really intense meeting and you go and some people are like, I just need to do it because I need to just throw it all out there and get it out. But actually that can drive more stress and more intensity. So that's cool, but how are you then going to wind down afterwards? So it's about actively making those judgments. If that's how you want to train and that works for you, and some people mentally and emotionally, that's what they need afterwards, instead of just doing quick quad stretch and off a skip back into the madness of life again, going, I need 5 minutes to just really take stock of a minute and reset. And I think it's about looking at how you position those things into workout routines in terms of your recovery. But yes, there are certain individuals that perhaps maybe it's not about 110% every single moment. It's about movement. It's not about fitness always. So it's about how well can I just move to keep me feeling good. And for a lot of people, those that are in the exercise world that love exercise, it's using the exercise efficiently to do that maybe. So instead of going and doing some crazy high hit workout, going for a walk outside, doing it, you can get a sweat on doing that, but that can be as powerful as that type of workout over here. It's just positioning it well. And that, I think, is where it gets very confusing in terms of what do I do? Do I recover? Do I not?
Yeah.
And it is a minefield, but it's being able to listen to your body, but also recognise what you've done throughout your day. Did I stop? Did I pause? Did I recalibrate? Did I come back? And I think it's those sorts of things we need to think about as opposed to just rewriting your entire workout structure.
Absolutely. And Ollie, in the industries that we are all working in, technology is just going through the roof. Like there's a technology revolution. They're number one in the fitness trends for this year.
Everything, isn't there?
But in terms of recovery, you can buy anything from your Theraguns to your leg compressors to your sleep masks to your everything. But does our body actually know? Has it got systems within it that can let us do that if we gave it the opportunity to?
Yeah, I mean, most of those techs are trying to facilitate or mirror a human behavior. You know, compression trousers, to all intensive purposes, mirror the sort of lymphatic drainage that I might get from doing a rebounder or even walking. You know,
See, jumping
is pretty good. You know, so these things are tech to sort of support core physiology, but our physiology is pretty clever. It can do most of these things itself. Tech is reconciled that people are a little lacking in energy, that we're a little inflamed, that we're a little under recovered, and it's trying to sell us products that support that, but they won't be as good as the behavior. None of those tech would be as good as an extra hour's sleep. None of those techs would be as good as an active warm down. None of those techs would do anything compared to appropriate loading in your programming. So we can't turn to recovery technology and say that's going to solve the problem. Yeah. We've also got a hell of a lot of technology. I mean, I'm wearing about 72 different devices as we speak.
Which actually we have been looking at earlier today, everyone.
I'm an open book.
We are testing away.
Yeah, it's really good. My core temperature's up a bit. But, but principally, there is a lot of tech that's measuring our ability to recover, but isn't necessarily signposting to how we improve that.
Right.
And measuring something doesn't get it better.
Huge point.
Doesn't get it better. So the biggest tech in the world, really, the heart rate variability wearables are looking at this metric of recovery. And going back to what I mentioned earlier, they're measuring how much time I'm spending in 24-hour cycles where my physiology is recharging and telling me, you didn't recharge enough yesterday, Ollie, be careful with your training volume today. So they're really selling to the overtraining market.
Yeah.
But that overtraining risk is the same as the working mother of three who isn't doing much exercise, but her day is full of those micro stresses. Yeah. And actually she then finally finds time for exercise, goes and does a HIIT session and potentially feels a bit unwell off the back of it. So it's guiding us to these moments of stillness that Steph mentioned, this recalibration. I'm doing a bit of an experiment with a corporate group at the moment. As part of that, I get them to lie down for 3 minutes while I put a device on their chest, and they lie on the floor. Mm-hmm. And I would say 9 out of 10 of them lie on the floor where they've got their phone off, they close their eyes and they go, oh my God, this is nice. 3 minutes lying on the floor is like a spa therapy to them. But then I travel home on the train and when I first started commuting into London, I read a newspaper or a book because I didn't have my work in my pocket. I didn't have global news in my pocket. Yeah. What we've found is that our downtime, be that the toilet, be that the train, be that the spa, has now turned into stimulus time.
Yeah.
And the idea of just lying still doing nothing is so odd that actually people need to go to a sound bath to mediate that, or they need to go to a meditation class, or they need an app to guide it. But what is challenging is to find those moments of true stillness where your internal physiology believes there is no threat, there is no problem it has to solve. We now need increasing vehicles to mediate that. And that's been the big growth area of the world tech industry, is measurement of recovery and then technology that promises to speed it up. But ironically, that in itself is paradoxical.
Yeah. And especially if we've got tools within us that we can do that
1,000,000%.
with as well.
And none more. Let's be also be clear, none more than breath, right? And we talk a lot about breath in
Yeah.
the Everyone Active U Plus program, because it's a mediator of my state. So my breathing reflects how I feel, but it can also dictate how I feel. So if I deliberately change my rate of breathing, my position of breathing, nasal or oral, and I try and drive, slowly from my belly through my nose, then that will convince my physiology it can go into calm, regardless of how many micro pressures or big things.
Yeah.
going
Isn't that
on.
amazing? So
Isn't that amazing?
our breath is I say this in classes, breath is your best friend.
Oh my goodness, I do a whole section in my classes just about breathing, and it's you can literally see the room just
And the shoulders go.
The shoulders,
everyone's
exactly.
done.
It's amazing.
What
But isn't
is
that
it?
quite interesting? 'Cause, sorry, I know you teach body balance, and in
Yeah.
the end, there is a 10-minute meditation. How many people, if you rewind 10 years ago, got up and left when that
Do
section
you know
came
what?
on?
I was having this
And has that
conversation the
changed
other
now?
day. Literally last week, I was having this conversation, and I was saying I've been teaching body balance for 2002, 23 years. I've been teaching this. That
And she was
particular.
four.
Yeah, I was 2 actually. Rude. And at the beginning, literally, you come into the relaxation meditation part. I'd say 70% of the class would up and leave. Now, when I'm starting the class, they're saying, "Can we just do relaxation for an hour?" Like, saying it as a joke, but actually, people are so much more tuned into needing that.
They need.
Yeah.
And
They
I think
need
they
it.
need
They
it.
need
They
it.
do-
Yeah.
yeah. It is the antidote to the day they've had.
100%.
So that's fascinating.
And
I
when
love
we
that.
talk about stuff like this, I always refer back to I love my grandparents, miss them dearly. But I would say when my granddad was at work, he would write a letter, handwritten letter, pop it in an envelope, walk to the post box,
Yeah.
and that letter probably had one question on it.
Yeah.
All polite words and one question. Got posted, received the other end. Somebody had to wait for the post to be delivered. It definitely was never read on a weekend.
Yeah.
Then another letter was written and it was returned to them. So let's say that was a 10-day cycle for the answer of one question.
Yeah.
What pressures and questions do we have buzz on our phones, computers, you name it, watches
Yeah.
in a 10-day cycle
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
And that's my granddad. That's 2 generations away.
Absolutely.
So our physiology is still the same, but just the noise around us is so much greater. So I think that's probably a reflection of if people are staying in, they're living in that buzz world. It's
100%.
giving them that safe
Yeah,
space to
100%.
recover.
I agree.
So-
And we refer to this as a hypervigilant brain, because the more you feed my brain, the more it seeks. And so our brains are scanning now. They're looking for the next thing. And, people can't be off their phone because they've got used to this certain level of tone. And so we have to, and Steph keeps using the word, we have to, decompress, recalibrate. Our resonance is, our body is humming. It's like it's in the battlefield. It can do that, and it can do that for years, but it does come at an energy cost in the short term, and then very likely it comes at a health cost in the long term. And when we're looking at what is modern day stress, very few people are facing big fight or flight moments. We have those things, but what most people are facing is death by 1,000 cuts, and inadequate ability to dial up the ability to decompress and switch off. And that's what our recovery pillar is all about. The tools to identify that and then to drive that ability to restore energy.
And I guess our U Plus coaches are equipped to be able to ask those questions to see the specific behaviours. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. And a very, very, and I love this about the human body. Get Ollie, you can talk about it. The good old vagus nerve.
Oh, yes.
The vagus nerve. Well, it gets its own press. The vagus nerve is the buzz. It had its moment in 24, but I think it's really shining in 25.
Come on.
So tell us what it is exactly for people that have been living under a rock.
Yeah, well, I wasn't taught about the vagus nerve at school, meaningfully. So the vagus nerve is really the mediator from the brain to the parasympathetic nervous system. So, just people have that quick bit of biology that the inside of us is constantly changing. So my heart rate's changing up and down, my blood pressure's changing up and down, my glucose level's changing up and down, and all of that is changing automatically, hence the name of the autonomic nervous system. And it's basically that the brain is trying to calibrate the inside of my body to the outside world. Mm-hmm. So it's always trying to make sure that what if it's really hot in the room, my body will start sweating. If I'm about to eat, blood goes to my stomach. If I'm about to run, blood goes to my muscles and glucose is released. So we have a brilliant system that anticipates what's coming next and then makes sure the inside is ready for the outside. So clever. And that's not under conscious control. Now, the branch of that slows everything down is called the parasympathetic. So when my body is moving out of into a state of readiness for digestion and energy recovery, we call it parasympathetic tone. And the vagus nerve is the mediator of that. So when people are talking about the vagus nerve or vagal innervation or vagal stimulation, what they're really saying is they want to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And what they're really saying is they're trying to move someone's state into a state of energy restoration and calm. But that has led to a range of technologies that are trying to target the vagus nerve directly.
Yeah.
For children with heightened anxiety, there's what we call haptic devices which vibrate, and they will be trying to trigger the vagus nerve through vibration or haptics. We've got, again, an adult version that sits on your breastplate and does the same. We've got devices now that attach behind the back of your ear and stimulate the vagus nerve. And when you look at wellbeing technology, you'll see all these vagus nerve innovating technologies and all these clever ways of measuring recovery. And it's again indicative of the fact that most people are spending too much time wired, and we now need to create chemical or electrical ways of mediating calm. And none of those things will be anywhere near as effective as a slow exhaled breath. None of those things will be as effective as quality low intensity cardiovascular exercise or management of stimulating factors like alcohol and caffeine. So what we've got to make sure for our members is we clear the noise a little bit, and they don't go and buy a £1,000 device you clip to your ear to feel calm before they've understood how breath is a powerful tool, how consumption of certain elements is a powerful tool, how our 6 pillars unite in free, mostly, ways of driving true vagal innovation, which is behavior. So that would be a snapshot.
So interesting.
I know the human body is so clever,
Isn't it?
And you're going to hear me say this a lot, listeners. I'm literally going to say, I love this. I love this. Literally, I feel like everything's bottled inside me, and we've gone, yes, it's here. It's that we're giving people tools that our body has got within us. It's such a clever machine, but all that noise around us, it's just moved people away from doing it or remembering how to do it, or that it's even part of us.
Yeah, agree.
Recovery month.
Oh, we love it.
Oh, so, yeah.
All we've got time for today,
We
isn't it?
have.
Thank you so much for your nuggets of wisdom, as always.
Again, another good T-shirt slogan. Or a chicken shop.
Either or. Pop your answers on a postcard or any questions to podcast@everyoneactive.com. That was a good link.
There we
Did you see
go.
what I did
We
there?
linked. You might have to say it again, though.
Podcast@everyoneactive.com.
So do please email in with any questions. Please feel free to ask. And team, as always, share the love. 5 stars, thumbs up, nice comments, please.
And thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Absolute pleasure.
Take care, team.
Bye.